Today we're going to talk about whether or not you actually need an LLC if you're going to be running a business. Now, I've seen on social media a lot, like way more than I'd care to, people that come on here and they act so confidently, telling you that you have to have an LLC. And by having an LLC, you're going to open up this world of deductions that was not available to you prior to having it. I'm here to tell you that that is just not true. That is not the case. You do not have to have an LLC in order to have valid business income and expenses. If you decide one day to start a business, you start as what's called a sole proprietorship. All that means is you're the only member of that business and that you now have a profit motive. The setup is super easy. One day you just wake up and ta-da, you have a sole proprietorship. You decided to run a business. You go out, you collect income, you sell products or services, and then you have business expenses. And that income and expense goes on Schedule C of your personal return. So do you need an LLC to run a business? No, all you need is a sole proprietorship. They're super simple to set up, easy to run. Now that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an LLC, it just means that you don't necessarily need one if you want to start a business. You don't have to have an LLC in order to start. You can start your business and then get the LLC formed if that's what you're trying to do. So the other thing I'd like to go over is why you might want an LLC. Now a sole proprietorship does have a couple benefits, which are 1, ease of setup, and 2, ease of running the business. You make all the decisions, nobody's there to infringe on you. However, it does come with a pretty large drawback that you may want to consider, and that is unlimited liability. And when I say unlimited, I mean unlimited. If you hurt somebody or if your product hurts somebody and they come and sue you, they can potentially go after everything you own, your house, your car, all of your assets. It is unlimited. They can go after everything. That's where an LLC is very beneficial. It limits your liability. That doesn't mean that they can't come sue you. It just means that whatever's inside that LLC, that's all they can go after. All of your personal assets that are outside of it, those should be protected as long as you're doing things right. Now, forming an LLC is pretty simple and it does come with the limited liability, but it also adds some other perks. For one, it adds credibility to your business. So if you form an LLC and you go to somebody like some contractor or you're trying to sell something, presenting yourself as an LLC does generally help with your credibility. It shows that you're a serious business. It's also a very flexible entity, and it's actually one of my favorite things about it is that you can basically be anything you want with it. If you want to basically be a sole proprietorship, just be a single member LLC, so that's just you, single member. It can also elect to be taxed as an S corporation or a C corporation or even a partnership. So your options are very open. It's very good for potential expansion. Now that being said, not everything is sunshine and rainbows with the LLC. Sometimes they come with some cons that you may want to consider. So for example, the federal side of the LLC, they don't recognize the LLC as its own taxable entity, right? So even though I own the LLC, I just file on my personal return. There's only one tax return. However, states, they don't necessarily always see that the same way. Let's take California, for example. California recognizes the LLC as a taxable entity. They do have an LLC tax form, and there is an $800 minimum tax every year on a California LLC. So if you decide to open an LLC in that state, you're always going to owe $800 minimum. And there are other states like that. Not every state. Some states conform to federal where they just treat it as disregarded like the federal does. There are also a couple other things like again, a lot of these are state specific. You may have to file annual reports or you may have to file certain returns in those states and you may have to file certain taxes. Every state, again, is going to be different. They're all their own little snowflakes. But that's one of the cons. There is a more administrative burden. It is more complex in that sense. And that generally means that you're probably going to have to hire an outside professional to help you with these kinds of things. And honestly, if you were serious about your business, I'd probably recommend something like that anyway. I don't think you should try and DIY the whole thing. That being said, it is more complicated to run an LLC, a different entity in whatever state you're in. So to kind of summarize all of this, where I do think it's better to have a sole proprietorship where you don't necessarily need an LLC is if you're just running kind of a hobby, if you're selling crafts or something that's not dangerous, you don't need a formal LLC. Can you have one? Of course you can, but you don't necessarily need one. You can run your business, report your income and expense. You don't necessarily need the LLC. Now, where you do need an LLC is if you are going to have a serious business, if you want serious business credibility behind it, that's when you need the LLC. If you're going to be seeking like investment or loans of some kind, bankers, investors, they want to see that kind of investment in your business. They want to see that you're serious about it. And of course, remember that all of this is based on your own needs and circumstances. Everybody's their own snowflake. Everybody's unique. Everybody has different needs. So at one point in your company, you may not need it, but then you turn a corner and all of a sudden you do need it. And that's where the LLC, again, it's very favorable. It's very flexible. You can always start one when you need one. So remember, although I'm a CPA, that doesn't mean that I'm your CPA. You should always consult a CPA or a tax professional on these kinds of things. They're going to know the ins and outs, especially locally. They're going to know. So if you're liking the content and you feel that I earned your subscription, I would greatly appreciate it. It'll surely help grow the channel. But as always, I wish you the best on your business and tax journey. Best of luck.